capture. A long campaign is now.
This is the car market in Mogadishu.
NATO's military success against
many Western nations.
This is on assignment.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're happy to have you with us as we go behind the stories VOA reporters cover around the world. I'm Alex Villarreal.
And I'm Imran Siddiqui. First up, Liberia, where we get a first-hand look at the dangerous task of burying Ebola victims.
Then it's a fight against extinction as conservationists work to save the world's cheetahs.
In Afghanistan, the life of a journalist is often not an easy one, especially if that journalist is a woman.
And they're on the air in Malawi, young people talking politics and the big issues of their country.
This and more is straight ahead as we take you on assignment. The story has become all too common in the Liberian capital of Monrovia. People get sick with Ebola and refuse to go to the hospital. The infection spreads and many die.
Reporter Benno Muschler accompanied a local burial team in Liberia. Removing bodies infected with Ebola is dangerous and it's difficult. Here, Benno tells me what it was like to witness and document it. Benno, you were able to get this rare inside look at the burial process for an Ebola victim. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole burial process started with removing a dead body of a woman from a village outside Monrovia. Of course, like from a reporter's perspective, it was very interesting to see. And like, I mean, yeah, the guys, like they're doing a tough job. They're doing a necessary job. Like without them doing the job, not many other people, I think, would do it. So the guys are very, very brave. Taking a big risk, like are risking their own lives to help others.
After disinfecting the body, the undertakers are preparing themselves to put the body into the body bag.
And this point is the risky part. So it's only advisable to touch the body one time, and that is by taking the body from the ground straight into the body bag. That's the only time the guys are going to get in contact with the body. The infection around this body, I would say, is 100%.
While the men are disinfecting themselves, the father shouts at them. The husband can only watch how the undertakers are carrying his dead wife away.
For me, it was fascinating to see like all the protection that is behind, like the suit that you have to wear. You have to be aware of so many things. However, then like after a while, like the handful of people like who are on that team, they had, like they told me, they had some sort of a routine, like they had performed like 200 or more burials.
Benno, you mentioned how brave these healthcare workers are and these burial teams, but I think many of us here would look at you and say that you're pretty brave yourself being there in this environment while this epidemic is going on. Tell us how you keep yourself safe.
I felt very safe, actually all the time. I never feel like insecure, because the guys also had told me before they had performed like over more than 200 burials and none of them so far had gotten sick so far. So for me, this was like for me the information that made me want to follow them.
You were able to also go to a hospital where you reported that health workers have been afraid to go to work because of this crisis. What did the doctors and nurses you met with tell you are their biggest concerns?
I think right now the biggest concern of them is to rebuild trust, rebuild confidence so that patients come back to the hospital. I feel this is the biggest challenge for them. One of the reasons behind is not like a lack of education among locals, among Liberians. A very big reason is also like lack of trust and confidence in the healthcare system. You know, hospitals are often very poorly equipped.
From what you've seen spending time in Liberia, how likely do you think it is that we're going to be able to get this under control, and how bad do you think it's going to get?
Well, difficult to say. I'm not a prophet or an oracle of Delphi, but I feel like at the time when I was on the ground, what I could see was that Ban Ki-moon of the United Nations had spoken, and also Barack Obama had stood up and called for the international community to come in and help. West African countries. So I could really feel that there was some like momentum going on. More and more health workers were coming in. The U.S. soldiers were coming in. So many things were happening, at least in Liberia. I don't know about Sierra Leone or Guinea. Somehow like a positive sign, but still, I mean, if you follow the news, of course, like you had now the cases in America and Dallas. You had the nurse who contracted the virus in Madrid. It's a very scary scary scenario. It's still not sure if we can contain the virus. But I think from my feeling there is some hope. But much more needs to be done on behalf of the international community, and they are very late with their help.
Much more to be done is right. The United Nations has called for almost $1 billion to fight Ebola, but so far, international donations have fallen short.
We're taking a break now. Coming up on the other side, saving the cheetahs. You're watching On Assignment. The world has lost half its wild animal population since 1970, according to the World Wildlife Fund. That grim statistic includes the loss of 2/3 of wild cheetahs. And experts warned that unless we act quickly, the remaining cheetahs could be gone in 10 years. VOA's Julie Tabo looked into the plight of these big cats and joins me right now. Julie, you talked with a fantastic doctor, Lori Marker, and she says that the cheetahs play a key role in the ecosystem. How's that?
They do play a very important role in the ecosystem because they're top predators. What they do is when they make a kill, when they're finished feeding off of the animal and they move away, other animals that live on the savannah come in and feed off of that kill. So it's very important, top predators like the cheetahs, to the ecosystem of the savannah.
Okay. And you've reported on some interesting strategies being utilized to preserve cheetahs in Africa, and this includes dog herds. What does that mean?
Well, Dr. Lori Marker has a remarkable program in her Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia, Africa. And part of the program includes raising and breeding special dogs, special guard dogs called Anatolian Shepherd Dog, which is originally from Turkey. And what they do is they give them to the local farmers. And these dogs put themselves between the livestock and any predators, cheetahs and other top predators who are going to come in and maybe steal and eat some of that livestock. So the dogs bark, the cheetah runs away, the farmer's happy because the cheetah hasn't gotten their livestock, and they're being able to not kill as many cheetahs as a result of having the dogs.
And this is like what they used to do in the past too, using dogs for something like that.
Absolutely. Herding dogs are very known throughout centuries and all over the world as protecting wildlife and protecting the livestock. And in this case, it's really a great system that they have to keep the farmers happy, and it keeps the cheetah preserved because now they're not in danger of being killed by the farmers.
Okay, poaching is another issue in Africa along with other species. Is there a headway being made against poaching?
You know, people are trying all over the world, different conservation groups, and cheetahs are one of the top animals, one of the top wildlife species that are being not only caught, hunted for body parts, as many other animals are, but also they're being captured for pets. So, you know, people in the Middle East and other places in the world actually will have them as cubs and then raise them as pets. And as Dr. Marker pointed out, you know, for every one cheetah that makes it as a pet, there's 5 that die along the way. And many times when they become pets, a lot of people don't know how to really properly train them and keep them. And even under the best of circumstances, cheetahs are wild animals. They need to be on the savannah, they need to be running around, and they do not need to be pets for people. And so another thing that Dr. Marker is doing is working with these people who would normally perhaps be getting these cheetahs as pets and using them as resources to actually sound out the alarm about the vanishing cheetahs and help them resource and fund programs and preservation programs to actually help the cheetah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Very welcome, and it's always a pleasure.
VOA's Julie Tabo. And we're taking a break now, but when we come back, challenges of being a female journalist in Afghanistan. You're watching On Assignment.
Afghanistan's Kandahar province is the birthplace of the Taliban. Women there face intense scrutiny, but to be a woman and a television anchor in Kandahar is to live a life of daily harassment.
Free media has boomed in post-Taliban Afghanistan, even in Kandahar, but female journalists in the country are targets of intimidation, abuse, and even death threats.
Akmal Dawi of VOA's Afghan service delved into these challenges in a recent report, and he tells me about the pressure Afghan women face, especially if they work in media. Akmal, you spoke with several women journalists in Afghanistan. What did they tell you about their daily lives?
Well, they had some extraordinary stories about the work that they do in Afghanistan, and particularly outside Kabul, which is the capital of Afghanistan. They told me about the rampant harassment that they are facing as female journalists. They also, on a daily basis, when they walk out of their homes to their job, they are being insulted, they are threatened. 13 years ago, there wasn't even a single woman working in Afghanistan. There wasn't even a single school for girls in Afghanistan. So that clearly tells you the story of Afghanistan, that over the past 13 years, it has come a long way. Women can work, they are in the parliament, they are in the government, there are tens of thousands of female students at school, but nevertheless, the predominant mindset and the traditions that have been there for centuries in Afghanistan restrict the role of women in politics, in the economy, in social affairs. So that patriarchal culture is predominant, and that's why you see women being threatened when they want to take a more robust position in the society.
Right, I want to highlight one quote.
Working conditions for women is not that safe right now. Women who work in TV stations face many problems because their faces appears on TV. That is why they are harassed in the streets. Unfortunately, some illiterate people assume that if a girl appears on TV screen, morally she is not considered a good person.
Talk to us about that.
So again, the mindset is that when women are seen on the TV, and if she belongs to a family in rural Afghanistan and everybody knows the name of that person, that automatically is translated in some mindset that she is not a good girl, that she has the freedom to do whatever she wants, and that's somehow morally inferior to women who stay inside the households, who take care of the ethics of the family, and a lot of men would prefer to marry those kind of girls. Remember, in Afghanistan we also have a phenomenon, a very brutal phenomenon that's called honor killings, in which if a woman is accused of doing something illegal, then she's automatically being killed by the members of her own family.
So when a woman is facing this kind of harassment just for the job that she's chosen, why do these women you spoke with stay in journalism?
It's not only journalism. Women, no matter what they do outside their home, is threatened. You had the female head of police in Kandahar shot dead by the Taliban, but again, her position was filled by another woman. So it's not just journalism that translate into risks and jeopardy for women. It's everything that women do.
From what you experienced, do you think it's gotten better for women in media, and do you think it will continue to improve?
Oh, there's no doubt that Afghanistan has come a very long way. I mean, increasingly the number of female journalists, not only in the international media, but also in domestic Afghan media. Remember that over the past decade, local media has mushroomed in Afghanistan. The freedom of expression and the free press in Afghanistan has grown rapidly, and it's matchless even in the region. You have female ministers, you have female governors, you have female MPs. So not only in journalism, but in all other professions in the society, in politics, in the economy, women have the equal right, as the Afghan constitution says, to work and to be on TV, to their name be known in the society, and that's not a crime.
Was that the reason you wanted to do this story?
Absolutely. I mean, and particularly looking at the risks and the changes that women are bringing to Afghanistan is not often told. So I wanted to bring the story and also to pay tribute to these courageous women who, despite all the challenges, are risking their lives, are taking all the challenges and changing their society and changing their country.
And we want to thank Akmal, of course, for bringing us their stories. Again, Akmal Dawi of VOA's Afghan service.
In Malawi's capital city, Lilongwe, you can tune in on the radio to the call-in show Power to the Youth. It engages young people in issues of the day in Malawi. I got the inside scoop from VOA's Paul Ndiho. Check it out.
How did you find out about this?
It's funny. I was driving. I had a guy who was taking me around. We were driving in town, and I had it was a repeat of the previous show. Then I asked the guy, "Where is this taking place?" He said, "Oh, it's hugely popular, a popular radio show that airs. It comes on every Wednesday." So we drove there, and just by listening to what these guys were talking about, I found it very, very interesting for young people to be talking about issues that affect them on a daily, day-to-day basis, from politics to education to civic education. It made me pause for a moment and say, you know what? I think these young guys are not waiting for their governments to come and do this for them. They have taken matters into their own hand, and they want to change the direction the direction of their country, because it's going to take them as young leaders or young Africans to change the course of the political dispensation in their own country. And the other thing that I also liked about the program is how interactive it is, because you had callers calling in from all over the country talking about different things, talking about corruption. They were also talking about how to engage the political leadership of that country, talking about how they can, for instance, Ebola, how they should be aware of Ebola, and talking about how it's a serious thing.
Another interesting thing that they're doing is enhancing the role of women in executive positions.
Yes, a lot of young women, traditionally, they don't engage in politics. So one of the things that this show is doing is to encourage these young girls, young women who want to play a role in politics to go for it, especially now that they've had a taste of power. They've had a president who was a female president, and I think that can only go so far, because these young girls are really, really interested in, some of them are really interested in joining politics and being a major players in their country.
20-888-500-222. 0-888.
Tell us a little bit about this unique concept called Young Politicians Union. What is this?
I think one of the things that they do is they do a lot of civic education. They are teaching these guys about what is it to be a citizen. It involves voting, and how do you vote? Some people don't know how to go to a polling station and vote. So they teach these young people how to engage in the voting process, because they look at it as the future leaders of this country. And the other thing that I found interesting is that they allow these young people to express their concerns. They talk about issues that affect them in their communities. They talk about what is it that the government hasn't done, or what is it that the government is doing.
Hello?
And how can they engage the government, the private sector, the civil society. Those are some of the things that they talk about on this show.
As I said, my studio guests are Linda, Halawa.
How has been the response?
Like I said earlier, this show is hugely popular because it cuts across all genres, all generations, and because they podcast it on the social media. So from the studio, it's a live recording, or it's live. But from there, then the conversation continues on the social media.
So it's a wonderful platform, a learning platform, an interaction platform.
So there is a lot of interactions, even after the show is done, but the conversation continues on social media. People talking about things that were raised during the course of the show.
And thanks to Paul Ndiho for that. Now, staying on the topic of Africa, this year 500 young Africans came to the U.S. under the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. The program is part of the Young African Leaders Initiative President Obama launched in 2010, known as YALI.
Right, so it was only 1% of the 50,000 people who applied who got to participate in this fellowship, and one of those special few was JJ Sabathia, an entrepreneur who runs an outdoor expedition outfit in Ghana.
On assignment, went to the state of Wyoming in the American West to document Sabathia's experience. Take a look.
Okay.
Every climbing adventure teaches me something new. So when I climb, she will be my belay.
Great.
Yeah, and I become the climber.
So the transition between what I was used to and what something that was completely new was an eye-opener for me. And I began to really think about all the kinds of stuff I'll have to ensure that my clients have when I'm going back home, at least to ensure their safety and their comfort while making room, of course, for our typically hot climate.
I work in the part of the world, as you're very much aware, in Africa, where people are very less trustful of outdoor adventure and extreme sports.
It's okay? No.
Yes, okay.
Oh my God.
So it's important for everyone to understand what the safety systems in place are. And that's probably even going to be the first thing we're going to market before we market the actual activity. Now that we are going to do rappelling, commercial rappelling with the US ADF grant, I am going to be introducing, as part of the entire system, helmets and harnessing systems and rope safety systems for my clients. Yeah, and just like the risk management techniques I have learned here, I would apply the same to ensure that the rappelling business is completely safe.
We have lots of people come through Knowles as students, oftentimes as interns, obviously employees, things along those lines. And I think everybody brings something a little bit special. But I think for somebody like JJ, who's had experiences in Ghana, and then he can come here, plug into our community. We learn from him, and hopefully he's learning something from us as well at the same time.
They actually have it to an exact science. They know how many pounds of food a person needs for a time and how much calories. And so there's actually a science to it, and that was good to learn.
JJ was wonderful. I didn't realize he had, until we got going, I didn't realize he had any experience.
Pendable are there, those ones on that side. The sleeping mats.
I should have known, because from day one, he just had this calming, supportive presence. And it was just, he's an amazing person. I'm really glad he was on our trip.
I'm better positioned to now drive home both the grants access that we have and all the experiences that I have to, in the next couple of months, really make a difference in Ghana when it comes to adventure sports. My name is JJ Kweku Sabathia, and I am from Ghana, and I'm the expedition leader for Brave Hearts Expeditions.
Wow, watching that, I'm thinking Braveheart is definitely the right name for those expeditions. A lot of bravery involved in doing something like that.
I second that, Alex. But that does it for us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our episodes online at voanews.com. Just go to the Programs tab at the upper right side of the homepage.
Right, and remember, we're also on Facebook and YouTube, so be sure to check us out there too. And give us your feedback, because we want to know what you have to say about the stories that we cover. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Goodbye until next time.